The emergency beacon pierced through the cosmic silence like a dying scream. Inside the Galactic Council's grand chamber, 20 different species watched the holographic display with growing dread. Please ... anyone. The Zircon Empire is destroying everything. The broken transmission crackled. The blue-scaled face of a Zarkonian appeared briefly before static consumed the image. Our shields have fallen. They are taking our children for slaves. We have maybe 3 rotations left. Council leader Thrixian's tentacles writhed nervously. The Zarkonian colony on Kepler 442 has been peaceful for 200 cycles. They have no military. And that is precisely why the Zircon attacked them, clicked Ambassador Velter, his insectoid wings buzzing with agitation. We all know their ways. They prey on the weak. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement, but no one volunteered assistance. The Zircon Empire was too powerful, too ruthless. To challenge them meant certain destruction. 3 sectors away, aboard the Earth battleship Wolverine, Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge, her scarred hands gripping the railing. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Park, had intercepted the same transmission. "Admiral, the Galactic Council is doing nothing," Park reported, his voice tight with disgust. Chun's jaw clenched. At 45 Earth years, she had seen enough suffering to last several lifetimes. Her brown eyes, hardened by combat on 3 different worlds, narrowed at the tactical display. "Contact the Council," she ordered. "Tell them the Third Fleet will respond." Gasps echoed through the Council chamber when Earth's transmission arrived. The humans? The Deathworlders? Most species avoided them entirely, terrified of the bipedal predators from the hell world called Earth. Admiral Chun, Thrixian's translator, struggled with the human language. "Surely you understand the danger. The Zircon have 40 battlecruisers." Sarah's face appeared on the main screen, and several ambassadors instinctively backed away. Even through the hologram, her presence was unsettling. Humans always looked ready for violence, with their forward-facing predator eyes and their exposed teeth when they spoke. "Danger?" Chun almost smiled. "Council leader, my species evolved on a world where the gravity would crush most of you, where microscopic organisms can kill in days, where the weather itself tries to murder us regularly. We survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, and each other. The Zircon don't scare us." Captain Min-Jung Kim received his orders 20 minutes later. The Korean officer stood in the Wolverine's war room, surrounded by his senior staff. Each human present bore scars, badges of honor from their death world. 15 ships, Min-Jun announced. "The entire Third Fleet. We jump in 12 hours. Commander Jung-hoon raised his hand. "Sir, what are our rules of engagement?" "Simple." Min-Jun's black eyes glinted dangerously. "We save the Zarkonians. Anyone who stands in our way learns why Earth's children are feared across the galaxy." The fleet began preparations with terrifying efficiency. Each battleship bore names that would soon strike terror into Zircon hearts. Wolverine, Grizzly, Viper, Crocodile, Tiger, Shark, Eagle, Dragon, Scorpion, Cobra, Panther, Raptor, Python, Orca, and Wolf Dot in the mess hall. Lieutenant Seo Yan checked her assault team's gear while casually sipping a drink that would poison most aliens. Coffee, they called it. Her soldiers joked and laughed, discussing the coming battle like others might discuss weather. "I heard Zircon can't handle Earth normal gravity," Private Chun mentioned, adjusting his power armor. "Then they're really going to hate it when we board their ships," Seo Yan grinned, displaying the kind of predatory expression that gave other species nightmares. The Galactic Council watched in horrified fascination as the human fleet powered up their jump drives. These weren't the sleek, elegant vessels most species built. Human ships were ugly, brutal things, all armor and weapons. designed by a species that understood violence on a molecular level. Ambassador Velter turned to his aide. Send word to all council members. The Deathworlders are going to war. Should we warn the Zircon? The aide asked. Velter's compound eyes reflected deep thought. No. Let them learn what we already know. Humans are insane. They run toward danger. They find entertainment in activities that would kill us. And worst of all, he paused, they protect those weaker than themselves with a fury that defies all logic. As the Third Fleet disappeared into hyperspace, the galaxy held its breath. The Zircon had no idea what was coming. They were about to learn why humanity's mercy was as feared as their wrath. Asterisk. The human fleet burst from hyperspace, like predators from tall grass. 15 warships materialized in perfect formation around Kepler 442. Their arrival sending gravitational ripples across local space. Captain Min Jun stood on the Wolverine's bridge, studying the tactical display. Below them, the Zarkonian colony burned. Smoke columns rose from 3 cities, while Zircon ships circled like vultures, their energy beams carving wounds into the planet's surface. 43 enemy vessels detected, reported Tactical Officer Williams. They haven't noticed us yet. Min Jun smiled coldly. They will. Open channels to the colony. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a trembling Zarkonian. His blue scales had turned pale with fear, and his large black eyes widened impossibly when he saw the humans. I am Zex, temporary leader of this colony, he whispered, his translator crackling. You are the Deathworlders. The humans. We received your distress signal, Min Jun said simply. We're here to help. Zex's expression shifted between relief and terror. Every species knew the stories about humans. They came from a world where the rain could strip flesh, where tiny insects carried death, where the very air could freeze or burn. These were creatures that considered jumping from flying vehicles a sport. The Zircon. Zex started, but alarms suddenly screamed across the human bridge. Enemy ships responding to our presence, Williams announced calmly, as if discussing lunch plans. They're hailing us. The screen split, showing a Zircon commander. The reptilian alien stood 8 feet tall, covered in black armor that enhanced his natural scales. His red eyes narrowed at the human captain. Humans, the Zircon spat. This does not concern your species. Leave or face annihilation. Min Jun took a slow sip from his coffee mug, the casual gesture making several bridge officers smirk. The captain knew the stimulant drink was considered a deadly poison by most galactic species. The power move wasn't lost on anyone. Commander Jung-hoon, Min Jun said, ignoring the Zircon entirely. Prepare your ground forces. Full deployment. With pleasure, sir. Jung-hoon's voice crackled over comms. The Zircon commander's scales shifted, a sign of confusion. You dare ignore the might of the Zircon Empire? We have 40 ships. You have 15. Now Min Jun looked directly at the screen. You have 40 targets. We have 15 predators. Commander, you have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system. The Zircon laughed, a harsh scraping sound. You Deathworlders are all mad. Fire at will. Energy beams lanced through space toward the human fleet. The elegant weapons of the Zircon, designed to overload shields and disable ships cleanly, struck the Earth vessels ... and did almost nothing. Sir, shields holding at 93%, Williams reported, sounding bored. Min Jun nodded. Return fire. Kinetic bombardment, pattern Alpha. The human ships responded with primitive brutality. Instead of energy weapons, they fired simple projectiles. Chunks of tungsten and depleted uranium accelerated to fraction of light speed. No fancy technology, just pure physics. The first Zircon cruiser took 3 hits. The kinetic rounds punched through its shields like paper, through its hull like tissue, and out the other side. Atmosphere vented from the wounds as the ship listed, crippled in seconds. By the void, the Zircon commander gasped. What are those weapons? Sir? Lieutenant Seo Yin's voice came over comes from the dropship bay. Ground forces ready. The gravity down there is 3.2 times galactic standard. Perfect, Jung-hoon replied. Like a light workout day. The dropships launched, screaming toward the planet's surface. Inside, human Marines checked their weapons with practiced ease. Private Chun loaded his rifle with ammunition that would be considered war crimes by most civilized species. Explosive rounds designed to mushroom on impact. On the planet's surface, Zircon Ground Commander Kurtash watched the human dropships descending. Prepare defenses. The Deathworlders must not. His words died as the first dropship landed. The doors opened, and out walked the humans in their power armor. But it wasn't the armor that terrified the Zircon. It was how the humans moved in gravity that should have crushed them. The humans jogged. They carried weapons that weighed more than some species' entire bodies. And they were singing some kind of rhythmic war chant that made the Zircon troops step backward. Jung-hoon removed his helmet, letting the toxic atmosphere wash over his face. To him, it smelled like sulfur and methane. To his enhanced biology, it was merely unpleasant, not deadly. Zex, Jung-hoon called out to the Zarkonian leader, who was watching from a damaged bunker. Where are the civilians? The eastern shelter, Zex stammered. But there are 200 Zircon soldiers blocking the path. Jung-hoon grinned, an expression that showed too many teeth. Only 200? This won't even be a warm-up. He turned to his troops. Marines. The enemy thinks they can harm civilians under our protection. What do we say to that? Never. The humans roared in unison, their voices carrying across the battlefield. The Zircon forces opened fire with their energy weapons. The beams that could cut through most armor splashed harmlessly against human shields. Then the humans fired back. The sound was primitive, chemical explosions propelling metal death. But the effect was devastating. Zircon soldiers, used to clean energy weapons, screamed as kinetic rounds tore through them. Push forward, Jung-hoon ordered. Show them why Earth's children are feared. In space, Min-jun watched 3 more Zircon ships die. Zex, he said to the colony leader, who is still on screen. You asked for help. This is what human help looks like. Zex could only nod, watching in terrified awe as humanity unleashed controlled fury upon his tormentors. Lieutenant Seo Yan sprinted through the rubble-strewn street, her power armor barely whirring under the crushing gravity. Behind her, 3 Zircon soldiers struggled to keep pace, their mechanical assistance suits groaning under the strain. Contact front. Private Chun shouted. .co-yeon didn't slow down. Instead, she accelerated, her body releasing adrenaline into her bloodstream. To the watching Zarkonians, she became a blur of motion. To the Zircon, she became death incarnate. The enemy soldier barely had time to raise his weapon before Seo Yin's armored fist connected with his helmet. The impact, delivered with earth-trained muscles in triple gravity, shattered the Zircon's armor like glass. He flew backward 20 meters, dead before he hit the ground. Berserker. 1 Zircon screamed. The humans have entered battle rage. It wasn't rage. It was just human biology doing what millions of years of evolution had designed it to do, survive and protect. But to species that had evolved on peaceful worlds, the human combat state looked like insanity. Jung-hoon reached the civilian shelter, finding it surrounded by Zircon forces. He opened his cum channel. This is Commander Jung-hoon to all Zircon forces. You have 1 chance to surrender. The response came as energy beam fire. Jung-hoon sighed and reached for his belt, pulling out a small cylinder. "What's that?" Zex asked over the comb, watching from a safe distance. "Flashbang grenade," Jung-hoon replied casually. "Watch this." The device detonated with the force of a small sun. The Zircon, with their sensitive eyes adapted to the dim light of their homeworld, screamed in agony. They stumbled blindly, their sophisticated targeting systems overloaded. The humans moved in. They didn't need targeting systems. They had something better, instincts honed by hunting mammoths with pointed sticks, fighting wars with swords, surviving plagues that killed millions. They aimed by feel, fired by intuition, and never missed Dot in the shelter. Zarkonian civilians cowered as the battle raged outside. Then, impossibly, they heard laughter. Human laughter. "Chun, you owe me 50 credits. SEO Yian's voice carried through the walls. "I got 12, you got 10. You're counting the one that ran into your fist?" Chun protested. "That doesn't count." The shelter door exploded inward. Zarkonian civilians screamed, expecting Zircon soldiers. Instead, a human marine stepped through, removing her helmet to reveal a face covered in scars and Dot smiling. "Hello," Seo Yeon said gently, her voice completely different from the warrior they'd heard moments ago. "I'm Lieutenant Seo Yeon. We're here to get you to safety." A small Zarkonian child, barely reaching the human's knee, approached cautiously. "Are you really Deathworlders?" Seo Yeon knelt down, bringing herself to the child's eye level. "We prefer the term human. Are you hungry?" "I have some food." She pulled out a ration pack, tearing it open. The smell that emerged made every Zarkonian step back. It was spicy, acidic, and contained what looked like preserved meat. "This is beef jerky with hot sauce," Sezean explained, taking a bite. "Probably not good for you. The capsaicin alone would ... wait." She pulled out another pack. "Here, these are crackers. Should be safe." Above them, the space battle had turned into a slaughter. The Zircon had learned too late that human ships didn't fight like civilized vessels. They fought like pack hunters. "Wolf pack formation complete," Admiral Chun announced. "Execute." 5 human ships would surround a single Zircon vessel, hitting it from all angles with kinetic weapons. While the enemy tried to respond, the ships would scatter, only to reform around another target. It was chaotic, primitive, and absolutely devastating. The Zircon flagship's commander watched his fleet dying. "Impossible. Our shields are rated for energy weapons twice this power." "Sir," his science officer trembled, "they're not using energy weapons. It's just ... metal, moving very fast. Our shields can't stop physical matter at these velocities." On the ground, Jung-hoon received a transmission. "Commander, this is Captain Min-jun. The Zircon ground forces are requesting surrender." Jung-hoon looked at the Zircon soldiers his troops had captured. They sat in defeat, unable to understand how they'd lost to a numerically inferior force. "Tell them we accept," Jung-hoon replied. "Standard human prisoner protocols." The Zircon commander on the ground, Kurtash, looked up in terror. "Standard human protocols? We've heard stories. You'll eat us, won't you? Use our bones for weapons?" Jung-hoon stared at him for a long moment, then burst out laughing. "Eat you? You're mostly silicon-based. You'd taste terrible." He became serious. "Standard human prisoner protocol means medical care, food, water, and safe repatriation after the conflict. We're soldiers, not monsters." Kurtash couldn't understand. "But you're Deathworlders. You enjoy war." "No," Jung-hoon corrected. "We're good at war. There's a difference. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight back. But we also learned something else." "What?" Kurtash asked. That the strong should protect the weak. It's what makes us human. In space, Admiral Chum watched the Zircon fleet retreating. Only 12 of their original 40 ships remained functional. The human fleet hadn't lost a single vessel. Admiral, her comm officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Zircon Empire. They want to discuss terms. Shun smiled, a predator's expression. Tell them we're listening. But also tell them this. If they ever attack defenseless civilians again, we won't stop at their fleet. We'll visit their homeworld. The comm officer hesitated. Admiral, that might be seen as excessive. Good, Shun replied. Fear keeps the peace better than any treaty. Below on Kepler 442, Zex watched human medics treating wounded Zarkonians alongside captured Zircon. The same hands that had dealt death now saved lives with equal skill. I don't understand your species, he told ECO-YEON. She grinned, offering him a sealed bottle. Want to try some coffee? It probably won't kill you. Zex looked at the dark liquid that could dissolve most species' stomach lining. I'll pass. Smart choice, Yeon laughed. We don't understand ourselves sometimes either. But hey, you called for help, and we answered. That's what matters. The lieutenant's come buzzed. Yeon here. Lieutenant, Jung-hoon's voice came through. Prepare for Phase 2. We're pursuing the Zircon fleet. Copy that, Commander. She turned to Zex. You might want to broadcast to your people. Let them know the Deathworlders are taking this fight to the enemy. Zex nodded slowly. The galaxy would soon learn what happened when humanity decided to protect something. Asterisk. The Zircon fleet limped through space, their once proud formation shattered. On the flagship's bridge, Supreme Commander Valanash stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 12 ships. That's all that remained of his 43-vessel armada. Supreme Commander, his sensor operator's voice shook. The humans ... They're following us. Impossible, Valanash snarled. We're at maximum burn. No species can maintain pursuit at these speeds. The operator's scales went pale. Sir, they're gaining. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the Wolverine's bridge, her eyes fixed on the fleeing Zircon. How long until intercept? 6 hours at current speed, Williams replied. But Admiral, our engines are running at 120% capacity. They'll hold, Chun said confidently. Earth engineers built them. They over-engineered everything because our world taught us that equipment fails when you need it most. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships implement persistence hunt protocol. Captain Minjun, commanding the Grizzly, smiled grimly. Persistence hunting. Like our ancestors chasing prey across the African savanna. The human fleet spread out, taking turns pushing their engines to the limit. When one ship needed to cool down, another would surge forward. To the Zircon, it seemed like the humans never tired, never stopped, never slowed. On the Zarkonian colony, Zex watched the tactical feed with fascination and horror. They're hurting them, he whispered. Jung-hoon, standing beside him, nodded. Wolves do the same thing. Chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We learned from the best predators on our world. Your world must be terrifying, Zex said. It was, Jung-hoon admitted, until we became the most terrifying thing on it. Back on the Zircon flagship, panic was setting in. Supreme Commander, we've received a message from the Emperor, the communications officer announced. He demands to know why we haven't destroyed the human fleet. Valanash's laugh was bitter. Tell His Majesty that the humans don't fight like civilized beings. They use primitive kinetic weapons that ignore our shields. They operate in gravity that crushes our soldiers. They inject combat drugs into their bodies. Sir, the sensor operator interrupted. The humans are hailing us. Sarah Chun's face appeared on the screen. To the Zircon, she looked like death itself, scarred, calm, and utterly without mercy. Zircon Fleet, she said simply. You have two choices. Surrender now, or we board your ships. Valinash tried to project strength. You wouldn't dare. Boarding actions in space are suicide. Chun's smile was cold. Commander, humans used to strap themselves to explosive rockets just to reach space. We've been doing suicide missions since before we left our planet. Would you like a demonstration? Before Valinash could respond, proximity alarm screamed. Human boarding pods had launched. Crude, heavily armored capsules designed to punch through ship hulls. All ships evasive maneuvers. Valinash ordered, but it was too late. The pods struck like bullets. One slammed into the flagship's hull, boring through armor plating with a fusion cutter. The pod door exploded outward, and out came something from Zircon Nightmares. Lieutenant Co Yun led the boarding party, her team moving with practiced precision through the ship's corridors. The artificial gravity here was lighter than Earth's. To the humans, it felt like they could fly. A squad of Zircon soldiers opened fire. Energy beams filled the corridor. The humans didn't take cover. They charged. Impossible. A Zircon screamed as Co Yan ran through the energy fire, her armor smoking but holding. She reached the enemy position and went to work with her combat knife, a primitive weapon that cut through advanced armor like butter. On the bridge, Valinash watched his internal security feeds in horror. The humans moved through his ship like a plague, unstoppable and relentless. They weren't just winning. They were making it look easy. Supreme Commander, his science officer said quietly, I've been analyzing their homeworld. Earth has over 8 million species. Thousands of them are venomous. Hundreds are active predators. The humans didn't just survive there, they conquered it. Suddenly, the bridge doors exploded. Min Jun walked through, having personally led a boarding party from the Grizzly. He wasn't even breathing hard. Supreme Commander Valinash, Min Jun said formally. On behalf of the Terran Federation and the Zarkonian people, I accept your surrender. I haven't surrendered. Valinash protested. Min Jun tilted his head. Would you prefer we continue? My Marines haven't had a good workout in months. They're actually enjoying this. Through the broken door, Valinash could hear human voices. They were laughing. His elite soldiers were being defeated, and the humans were laughing. We surrender, Valinash said, his voice barely a whisper. Smart choice. Min Jun activated his comm. Admiral Chun, the Zircon flagship has surrendered. Excellent work, Captain. Have them contact their Emperor. Time to discuss reparations. In the throne room of the Zircon homeworld, Emperor Korgun received the news with rage and disbelief. The humans demand what? His advisor read the terms again. Complete withdrawal from all occupied territories, dissolution of slave operations, and they want to establish an embassy on our homeworld. An embassy? They want to put Deathworlders on our planet? Sir, the advisor said carefully, they also offer something. Protection. Any species that attacks the Zircon Empire will face humanity's fleet. The Emperor's rage turned to confusion. They defeat us, then offer to protect us? On Earth, the Terran Federation Council had been clear. Former enemies could become future allies. It was another lesson from their harsh world. Sometimes the predator that almost killed you yesterday might save you from something worse tomorrow. The galaxy watched in awe as the mighty Zircon Empire, which had terrorized peaceful species for centuries, bowed before humanity's might. Asterisk. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Kepler 442, the Galactic Council Chamber, once filled with fearful whispers about the Deathworlders, now buzzed with a different energy. Representatives from 37 species had gathered for a historic moment. Admiral Sarah Chun stood at the center podium, her dress uniform bearing medals from a dozen worlds. Beside her, Zex represented the Zarkonians, his blue scales gleaming with health, a far cry from the terrified leader she'd first met. The motion before us today, Council Leader Thrixian announced, his tentacles steady for once, is to offer humanity a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. More than that, clicked Ambassador Velter. 17 species have requested Deathworlder protection treaties. Chun raised her hand for silence. The chamber immediately went quiet. When a human requested attention, everyone listened now. Before we proceed, Chun began, her voice carrying to every corner, I need to address something. You call us Deathworlders. You fear us. And yes, we come from a harsh world. But that's not what defines us. She paused, looking around the chamber. We are not monsters. We are survivors who learned that strength means nothing without purpose. On Earth, we have a saying, the strong protect the weak. This isn't just philosophy for us. It's survival instinct. But you enjoy war, a timid voice called out, the Palaxian ambassador, from a species that had evolved in paradise conditions. Chun actually laughed. Enjoy? No, we're good at it because we had to be. Earth taught us that everything tries to kill you. The weather, the animals, the diseases, even other humans. We learned to fight back. But we also learned something more important. Min Jun, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood up from his observation seat. We learned that together, we're stronger. That protecting others makes us all safer. The Zircon learned this lesson the hard way. Former Supreme Commander Villanash, present as part of the new Zircon delegation, stood slowly. His species had undergone massive reforms in the past months. The humans could have destroyed us, he admitted, his voice carrying the weight of his defeat. Instead, they helped us rebuild. They showed us a different path. And the results? Thrixian prompted. Zircon slave operations have been completely disbanded, Velanash reported. Former slaves are being returned to their worlds with compensation. And ... He paused, as if the words were difficult. We've requested human military advisors to retrain our forces in protective operations rather than conquest. Jung Hoon, who had been appointed as Earth's military liaison, added, 14 Zircon soldiers have applied for the human exchange program. They want to train on Earth. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Train on the Death World? It seemed like madness. They won't survive your gravity. The Palaxian ambassador exclaimed. They'll adapt, Seo Yan said confidently. She now wore the insignia of Lieutenant Colonel. We'll start them at Earth's poles where gravity is slightly lighter, then gradually move them toward the equator. In a year, they'll be deadlifting their own body weight in Earth gravity. Zex stepped forward. My people have something to say. We've lived in fear for generations. When the Zircon came, we thought we would be enslaved or killed. Then the humans arrived. He looked at Chun with deep respect. They answered our distress call without hesitation. They asked for nothing in return. They bled for strangers. The Zarkonian pulled out a data pad. This is a petition signed by every surviving member of our colony. We don't just support humanity's admission to the Council. We propose the creation of the Human Defense Initiative, a formal alliance where humanity leads a coalition of protection for all peaceful species. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species were eager, others hesitant. The idea of formally acknowledging humans as protectors was both comforting and terrifying. Chun raised her hand again. Silence fell. If you accept this proposal, she said, understand what it means. Any attack on a peaceful species will bring humanity's response. We won't ask if the odds are against us. We won't calculate if it's worth it. We will simply come." She looked directly at the recording devices, knowing this was being broadcast across the galaxy. "We've been called Deathworlders, monsters, insane. Maybe we are. But we're also something else. We're the ones who stand between you and the dark. We're the species that looks at impossible odds and says, 'Bring it on.' We're the ones who evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day, and we won." Her voice grew stronger, but our greatest victory wasn't conquering our world. It was learning to protect each other. And now, if you'll let us, we'll protect you too. The vote was called. One by one, species representatives stood to cast their decision. The Zarkonians first, then the reformed Zarkon, then species after species who had heard how humans had fought for strangers. When the count finished, it was unanimous. "The motion passes," Thrixian announced, his voice thick with emotion. "Humanity is granted a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. The Human Defense Initiative is officially recognized." Chun nodded, then spoke the words that would echo through history. "Humanity accepts this responsibility. From this day forward, any who prey upon the peaceful will answer to Earth. We stand guard." In the depths of space, 15 more human fleets were already under construction. The galaxy had gained protectors, ones who thrived where others perished, who found strength in adversity, and who had learned the greatest lesson of survival. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand between danger and those who cannot stand themselves. The age of conquest was ending. The age of protection had begun. And somewhere on Earth, in a military academy, new recruits were learning the motto that would define humanity's role in the galaxy. We are the shield. We are the sword. We are the nightmare that protects your dreams. The Deathworlders had become guardians. Asterisk.